In this opportunity, I will show you the thesis review. The title of the first thesis is The Learning Speaking Skill Strategies in My Personal Experiences, a Narrative Inquiry by Nila Kartika Putri, graduated from English Language and Letter Department, Faculty of Humanities, Maulana Malik Ibrahim State Islamic University of Malang, 2014. The first, background of the study. The success of English speaking skills is influenced by the use of learning strategies such as practicing speaking within friends, reading aloud, and memorizing. The easier they reach their goals. Thus, if English for language learners have strategies for their learning of speaking skills, they will be easy in sharing their feeling and exploring their arguments to other people with their foreign language. The motivation of the researcher to do this research is because speaking strategies are important to learn second language, such as in learning second language strategies used in the classroom or instructional learning strategies, and outside the classroom or autonomous learning strategies. This study focuses on research learning strategies for speaking English. This data is obtained from the autobiography of researcher in learning to speak English in terms of both inside and outside the boarding school education system. Second, the problem that occur of the study in this thesis is the researcher was helped to use English for daily language in both formal and informal situations when she was at Islamic boarding school Babu Salam. The program has enhanced her English speaking skills as she could say some English expression to be practiced with her friends. English is used not only for communication with foreigners, but also it is used in business, education, technology, and others. Hence, there are many schools provide intensive program for learning English out of the classroom, such as English course. In addition, not only schools which have intensive program for learning English, but also Islamic boarding school proclaim the same English program. The Islamic boarding schools create the rules of speaking which helps the students to speak English in daily communication. There are three research questions based on the background above. A. What experiences of learning English speaking have been important to me? B. How do these experiences construct my understanding in learning English speaking skills toward the nature of speaking? C. What can I and others learn from my experiences of learning English speaking by writing them? And fourth, the key terms used in the research are second language learning strategies, can be defined as students' efforts to improve their second language learning. Narrative inquiry is a qualitative design, especially for analyzing the story of human life. Islamic boarding schools are defined as traditional Islamic institutions that are used to study, understand, and practice Islamic lessons by prioritizing religious morality in daily behavior.
To continue to review the thesis with the title The Learning Speaking Skills Strategies in My Personal Experiences, a Narrative Inquiry by Nila Kartika Putri. In the previous, my friend has explained about what is that? Some point of the thesis. Now I'm going to explain about the relevant theories of the study. So relevant theories of the study is the theories that support this research. So it will show some theories that has the same topic with the topic that chosen by the researcher. The researchers are going to wanna observe about learning speaking strategies. So the relevant theories that take by the researcher are the first, learn the learning second or foreign language strategies. So it will show some theories about the learning second language. Then the existence of pesantren in Indonesia, because the researchers are going to show how to learn how well, how to learn language in pesantren in Indonesia. The narrative and its essential in the research field, because the researcher have chosen narrative inquiry to do the research, so it relate to storytelling and narrative. So it needs to know what is the role of narrative in research field. And the last, the researcher has relevant theories from the previous study that has the same field with their topic. I'm going to explain about research design and the research instrument in this thesis. So the research design that used in this study is qualitative research by using narrative inquiry, because this study deals with the description and explanation of the writers or researchers' experience in learning speaking skill strategies. Then the researcher using human research instrument to this study, that is using self-reflection to get the data, and it is autobiography that described through the classification and categorization of learning speaking strategies that proposed by Oxford. Then furthermore, the writer's autobiography becomes the data source on this study. Next, I'm going to explain about the frameworks are used to analyze the data. So the analysis of this study is performed through mechanism and techniques for a narrative research methodology, which have been proposed by Connolly and Clandinin. They offer the analysis should be provided with description of the process, negotiation, risks, and presentation of results associated with the narratives. So the first step that do by the researchers to analyze the data is analyzing the process of the narratives. A process contains of three sub-constituents: tools, criteria, and structures. Then describing the negotiation that occurs in narrative. Defining the negotiation as a relationship that relates to the researcher in conducting the research, such as collegially, community, and collaboration. Then the researcher analyzed the relationship between the relation this study with the other, such as description of who involved and help the writer or the researcher in conducting this study. The third step is analyzing or describing the risks that might occur in researching narratives. So, propose three risks according to Webster and Martova. There are three risks in conducting the narratives. Inter, that is, those are intersubjectivity, smoothing, and external constraints. They agree that intersubjectivity and smoothing are two potential abuse of the narrative inquiry as the researcher has a role in it, so the tendency to invoke the good results can be got easily. Then the fourth step is describing the results of this narrative research. So after doing the three steps to analyze the data, the last step is analyzing or describing the result of this narrative research. Webster and Martova argue that the result should be presented in order to facilitate the conclusion and understanding for the readers. The analysis results are described in order to give understanding to the readers about the learning strategies of speaking skills. I'm going to explain about the verification process of the research. So verification is the process of checking, confirming, making sure, and being certain. In qualitative research, verification refers to the mechanism used during the process of research to incrementally contribute to ensuring reliability and validity, and this is the trigger of a study. The mechanisms are woven into every step of the inquiry to construct a solid project, according to Creswell and Kvell. So, by identifying and correcting errors before they are built into the developing model and before they suffer the analysis, and the principle of qualitative inquiry are followed, the analysis is self-correcting. In other words, qualitative research is iterative rather than linear, so that a good qualitative researcher moves back and forth between design and implementation to ensure congruence among question formulation, literature, recruitment, data collection strategies, and analysis. So here there are 4 steps to of the verification process in in this study. The first is okay, there are 5 steps or 5 kinds of the verification process of the research in this research. First, ensuring the aim of methodological coherence. So the researchers are looking for what is the suitable methodological that used in this research. Then sampling sufficiently, so the researcher looking for the sufficient sample. Then collecting and analyzing the data that got by the researcher. And the last is theory development. So the theory development is to move with deliberation between a micro perspective of the data and a macro conceptual or theoretical understanding. The theory is developed through two mechanisms. First, as an outcome of the research process, rather than being adopted as a framework to move the analyzing along, and second, as a template for comparison and further development of the theory. Valid theories are well developed and informed. They are comprehensive, logical, parsimonious, and consistent. So together, that's all of this verification process incrementally and interactively contribute to build reliability and validity to ensuring the research. That's all explanation for me. Thanks for your attention.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Aliatu Soliha Atamami. Here I would like to review thesis, and the title is an analysis of colloquial English in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore based on travel story and narrative inquiry approach. And the writer is Sarul Laili Fahmi, State Institute for Islamic Studies, Salatiga. I will start the review from the background of study, problem of study, next about thesis question and key terms, and last, the relevant theory used in study. The background of the study. English is international language, spoken in many countries, both as a native and as a second language. As English has constantly been spreading around the world as a global language, it is no longer a language restricted to countries where it is spoken as the first language or mother tongue. Its spread is obviously seen in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, countries in Southeast Asia which include multi-ethnic, multicultural, and multilinguistic communities. The problem of the study. The majority of English speakers in the world are not native speakers of English, but use the language either as a second language or as a foreign language. Malaysia and Singapore use English as a second language, while in Indonesia use English as a foreign language. The purpose of this study are to analyze colloquial English found in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. Research question. First, what are the colloquial English found in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore based on writer travel story? And second, how is the grammar of colloquial English of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore based on the writer travel story? And the key terms used in the research. First, English in Southeast Asian countries. Second, colloquial English, and last, narrative inquiry. Relevant theories used in study. Informal language, colloquial English, and standard English, language acquisition and language learning, English as second language and English as a foreign language, English in Southeast Asian countries, linguistic features, grammar, discourse, lexis, and vocabulary, and last, narrative theory research design.
So I wanna continue about review from Mrs. Alia about the research design. The research design is a narrative inquiry approach. Among various data collection methods in study, the writer chose to use a narrative inquiry methods, as this method appeared to be the most suitable for the purpose of his study. Narrative inquiries almost always are about people's lives, their interests, concerns, and passion. So the next point is the research instrument. The research instrument is documentation. Collect information about the context of these stories. Narrative research situates individual stories within participants' personal experience, their jobs, their homes, their culture, racial or ethnic, and their historical context, time, and place. Next point is the framework are used to analyze the data. Framework for the data analysis strategies are: the first one is iterative, second one is emergent, and last one is interpretive. Data analysis can begin at any point in the study, and early start is often advisable because preliminary analysis may help refine data collection strategies. Data analysis strategies are also best applied with the word iterative, emergent, and interpretive in mind. In many narrative studies, the basic approach is to read, discuss, and write about the data repeatedly and with an open mind. More specific strategies help make this basic approach more relevant to the form of the data than it might otherwise be. They also make the data analysis more systematic or rigorous. They are intended, however, to aid, not replace, subjective interpretation too. The last point is the kind of verification process is used in the research. The writer needs to work with a research that would allow him be in the picture as he doesn't want to remove himself from the research puzzle to be investigated. The writer chooses to use a narrative inquiry method as the method appeared to be the most suitable for the purpose of his study. In collecting data, the writer using written narrative and multimodal narrative. These steps involves examining raw data and the writer identifying, organizing, and sequencing data found. In this step, the writer will retell and restore all data findings. The writer interprets the data findings in relation to established theory and literature into narrative form on analysis and discussion. The writer discusses the findings on the story. Okay, thank you very much. See you later next time.